I suppose there were some back then had money, but we weren't among them. The Depression was on, and if we had been one of those with money, there really wasn't that much to buy outside of hogs, chickens, vegetables, and the staples. And since we raised the first three, with us it was the staples, and sometimes we bartered for them. Daddy farmed some, and where we lived wasn't so bad for growing things. The wind had blown away most of north and west Texas, along with Oklahoma, but the eastern part of Texas was lush with greenery, and the soil was rich, and there was enough rain so that things grew quick and hardy. Even during dry periods, the soil tended to hold some moisture, and if a crop wasn't as good as it might be, it could still turn out. In fact, when the rest of Texas was tired out and gone to dust, East Texas would sometimes be subject to terrific rainstorms and even floods. We were more likely to lose a crop to dampness than to dryness. Daddy had a barber shop as well, and he ran it most days except Sunday and Monday, and was a community constable because nobody else wanted the job. For a time he'd been Justice of the Peace as well, but he finally decided it was more than he wanted. Jim Jack Formosa took on the Justice of the Peace position, and Daddy always said Jim Jack was a damn sight better at marrying and declaring people stone cold dead than he ever was. We lived back in the deep woods near the Sabine River in a 3-room white house that Daddy had built before we were born. We had a leak in the roof, no electricity, a smoky wood stove, a rickety barn, a sleeping porch with a patched screen, and an outhouse prone to snakes. We had kerosene lamps, hauled water from the well, and did a lot of hunting and fishing to add to the larder. We had about 4 acres cut out of the woods and owned another 25 acres of hard timber and pine. We farmed the cleared 4 acres of sandy land with a mule named Sally Redback. We had a car, but Daddy used it mostly for his constable business and Sunday church. The rest of the time we walked, or me and my sister rode Sally Redback. The woods we owned and the hundreds of acres that surrounded it was full of game, chiggers, ticks. Back then, in East Texas, all the big woods hadn't been timbered out, and we didn't have a real advanced forestry department telling us how the forest needed help to survive. We just sort of figured, since it had survived centuries without us, it could probably figure things out on its own. And the woods didn't all belong to somebody back then, though, of course, timber was a big industry and was growing even bigger. But there were still mighty trees and lost places in the woods and along the cool, shaded riverbanks that no one had touched but animals. Wild hogs, squirrels, rabbits, coons, possums, and some armadillo, and all manner of birds and plenty of snakes were out there. Sometimes you could see water moccasins swimming in the school down the river, their evil heads bobbing up like knobs on logs. And woe unto the fella that fell amongst them, and bless the heart of the fool who believed that if he swam down under them, he'd be safe, because moccasins couldn't bite underwater. They not only could, but would. Deer roamed the woods too, maybe fewer than now, as people grow them like crops these days, and harvest them on a 3-day drunk during season from a deer stand with a high-powered rifle. Deer they've corn-fed and trained to be like pets so they could get a cheap free shot and feel like they've done some serious hunting. It cost them more to shoot the deer, ride its corpse around in a pickup, and mount its head than it would cost to go to the store and buy an equal amount of beefsteak. Then there's those who like to smear their faces with the blood after the kill and take photos as if this makes them some kind of warrior. You'd think the damn deer were armed and dangerous. But I've quit talking and gone to preaching. I was saying how we lived, and I was saying about all the game. Then, too, there was the goat man. Half goat, half man. He liked to hang around what was called the swinging bridge. Up until the time I'm telling you about, I'd never seen him, but sometimes at night, out possum hunting, I thought maybe I heard him howling and whimpering down there near the cable bridge that hung bold over the river, swinging with the wind in the moonlight, the beams playing off the metal cables like fairies on ropes. He was supposed to steal animals and children, and though I didn't know of any children that had been eaten, some farmers claimed the goat man had taken their livestock. And there were kids I knew claimed that they had cousins taken off by the goat man, never to be seen again. It was said he didn't go as far as the main road because Baptist preachers traveled regular there on foot and by car, making the rounds and therefore making the road holy. We called it Preacher's Road. It was said the goat man didn't get out of the woods that made up the Sabine Bottoms. High land was something he couldn't tolerate. He needed the damp, thick leaf mush beneath his feet, which were hooves.